I love high heels. They are sporty, they are stylish, they are diverse, they're fun, they have stories to tell, and actually they're quite powerful. So in grade one, I just lost my train of thought. Sorry about that. So in grade one, I received a gift. It was a Wonder Woman costume. I got it from my neighbor, and this is the actual one, by the way. Okay. In grade two, I got the tiara crown to go with it. In grade three, I wrote my first speech. In grade four, I entered my first public speaking contest. In grade five, I won first place. And in grade six, I was entered into the regional public speaking contests that were to be held at Jacket River School for the first time. It was also the first time that I wore high heels. So, I remember that day perfectly. I was proud, I was ready. I didn't even think that I would need the cue cards that somebody told me to use. My coach actually said, take them anyway, just in case you need them. I had practiced. I practiced with my grandmother up the street, my neighbor, the milkman. They used to have them. I practiced with all the ladies that came in to get their hair done at my mother's hair salon. And I even practiced with the clerk that worked at the Arnold Derrick's store across the street. So I was feeling pretty good. Excellent, in fact. I had my new outfit, I had my heels, and I was ready to go. So that day, I started my speech. It was on empathy. And I said, empathy is the ability to stand in somebody's shoes. Then I took a breath, because my coach also told me, don't speak too fast. Take a breath before you go on. And in that moment of silence, somebody decided, not somebody, a bully, my bully, decided to yell out my name and decided to yell out everything that matched my name. So Shelly, Belly, Smelly, you name it. And there was silence everywhere. And I remember that I could feel the sweat, and my dress was clinging to my back. I could feel my eyes well up with water. I could feel my knees just clicking together. I was so nervous. And I decided to run off the stage like anybody would. So I ran off the stage, and as I was running off the stage, my left heel, high heel, slipped away from under me, and I fell. I got up, I kept going, and I said to myself, there'll be two things that I will never do again. One, speak publicly, and two, wear high heels. That day led me into a lot of negative things, including a cycle of self-destructive dieting, negative thoughts, self-criticism, and later I just developed the I'm not good enough syndrome. That later in my life would turn into imposter syndrome. And I don't know if you know what imposter syndrome is, but it means that everybody around you is better than you. And everything that you go set yourself out to do, there has to be somebody else that's better at doing it. So this happened, and this was my life. I moved to Montreal, set up my life, kept rather quiet, because I am actually a talker. Would go back home every once or twice a year to visit my family. And this brings me to the time that I went back. And I went for a visit. And coming from a small village, the thing to do is to hang out at the mall. So I went back home, and what did I do? The thing that everybody else does, but hang out at the mall. So I hung out at the mall, and I'm standing there, and I see my bully at the entrance of the mall. And I'm standing, and my feet are almost like connected or nailed to the ground. I'm not moving, because at that point, I'm that 11-year-old kid again. But just as I'm wanting to be as small as possible, the bully, my bully, motions me to come over. But of course, I'm nailed to the ground. So she waves and comes over as if we'd been good friends all those years. She said, "Let's go for coffee." And my feet were planted in the ground, and I was back to that 11-year-old child. But yet, my feet decided that they were going to go on a journey of their own, and I followed her to the coffee shop. And we got to the coffee shop, and I listened to her talk about when she was 5 years old and living like a latchkey life from the age of 5. I listened to her talk about the abuse, the rape, and having to give up a child. And I don't think I said anything. But suddenly, that day back in grade 6, that speech on empathy came back to me. And I said it in my head. Empathy is the ability to stand in somebody else's shoes. And suddenly I was grateful that that bully had come into my life, because it made me realize just how far I had come and the lessons that I had learned. I learned that everybody has a battle that we don't know about. I learned that if we believe in our own strengths and our own superpowers, we can take up any challenge that comes our way. I also realized that all those times, back when I was a kid, especially in grade 6, that was strengthening me for what I was to become in my adult life. So just as I lost my voice at 11 years old, the day I ran into my bully again, I got my voice back. Not only did I get my voice back, I became a coach, I became a speaker, and I became a globally recognized LinkedIn trainer who's asked from all over the world to speak all throughout the year. So it's really interesting what life could throw at you. But honestly, I would never go back and change anything that happened to me, because I was made to do great things. And now when I am feeling that I'm not good enough, and it does come back sometime, it's just normal, but when I do feel that way, I look down, because that day that I saw my bully just happened to be a day that I was wearing high heels. So when I have any doubts, I put on my heels, because they raise people up. And whenever I'm in doubt, if that's not enough, I know that there's a big girl super costume that will tell me that there's no doubt.